This is Chris, this is jamplay.com, and we are doing Chords and Cadences Week 2. And we're going to be experimenting with stacking a seventh on top of our chord harmony in the major scale. So last week we worked with kind of going all over the neck and working with thirds. Are they major? Are they minor? Upon each degree of the major scale. Then we worked with the fifth. Are they perfect? Are they diminished? And we looked at chord harmony on the neck. We intentionally didn't look at tab. We didn't look at neck diagrams because we are going through the exercise of mapping the neck ourselves using our ears, using our fingers. This is a more valuable way to learn the neck than looking at patterns, because we come about it by experimenting. We come about it by making mistakes, by getting on the neck and using our ears to self-correct. That's the way we want to do all things on the guitar. It's far more beneficial to learn by doing rather than just observing something and then incorporating that. So what we're going to be working with today is we're going to take that same mentality, that same learning approach, and we're going to be incorporating the seventh tone. So we're going to be playing a total of 4 notes all the way up and down the neck in various different positions. Last week there were a lot of great questions about chord harmony. There were a lot of great questions just about mapping the fretboard in general. So I hope that you'll continue to interact and ask great questions. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to check in here, just make sure that I have access to your guys' questions. So here's what we're doing. Last week, just for a quick review, we took the thirds, and we played that in various places around the neck, realizing that depending on which scale degree we were playing, we had a different definition of what the third was. Was it major or minor? So we did stuff like this. Building the basic chords. And then we took the fifth and we added that linearly and then in various different places around the neck. All notes within the major scale. That's what determines our harmony. We're sticking to these same 7 notes as we stack the thirds. And now I'll look at the non-linear. So picking an area of the neck and trying to get a handle on how that chord harmony works there. Oops. And then taking little snippets here and there. So we have like a 1, Can we walk up the 1, the 2, and the 3 chord? What do we do with those triads? So that's what we primarily worked on last week, although not that lead stuff that I just played at the end. We worked on taking the triads to different parts of the neck and harmonizing around, being conscious of the fact that we can take these pretty much anywhere. And there are lots of things you can do with just triads, but let's go ahead now and add the 7th tone in place and see how it sounds. So if we work linearly, 1, 3, 5, on my B string, it's an open B string. So that's 1, 3, 5, 7. Building off of the 1st degree of the major scale. Then we've got 1, 3, 5. Now we want to make sure that we're staying within the boundaries of the major scale. So D, F, A, it's going to be right there. It's going to be a C. We can't very well play that. That's a very difficult chord to play. It doesn't matter so much if we can play it. What matters is that we can visualize it and see that note being accessible to us at this point. We can always modify this and just be conscious of where that note is. Play it melodically. We can make substitutions later. Phrase it like this and drop the 5th, for example. We'll cover more of that later on. So we have built off of the 3rd degree. And again, we're not going for practicality here as much as we're going for just recognizing the tone. We'll come up with chord positions and patterns after we get done studying this in a linear fashion. Right now, we're just going for the sound and going for the accessibility. Notice we have to stick with major scale harmony. So that note, that's an F, it creates a distinct sound off of that 5 chord. And then here we may be able to get away with such a neat sounding chord, even right there. So having that thought, having that sound in your ear, can you, without even playing, da 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 da, 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 da da da. Maybe singing that high isn't something that you normally do. Maybe you had to drop down the octave or have to drop down the octave to do it. But the point is, we have that in our ear. So when we're creating sounds on the guitar, we have that to go after. We have that to help support us. Any questions or comments so far? Are we understanding? I know last week about this point, I had tons of questions come in about what we're doing, how we're doing it. Let me know how things are going for you. Let me know how you're tracking with what we're doing so far. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create, we've got it in our ear, we've done it linearly. We're going to go to some familiar chord forms that we know, work up the neck, and harmonize with major, minor, or diminished 7 forms. So to do that, to start out, we're going to go with the A-shape form. So if we're in the A-shape form, we've got A and A minor. We need to identify where our roots, thirds, and fifths are, and then where we can place a 7th. So if we look at the basic A chord, we've got the 5th, we've got the root. Then here we've got the 5th, a root, and a 3rd. So root, 5th, root, 3rd. They're out of order a little bit, that's fine. Root, 5th, root, 3rd. And then another 5th. That's accessible to us. Root, 3rd, 5th, root, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th. So if we bar that, say here, C, we've got root, same thing. Root, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th. So if we want to create a minor triad out of this, or a minor chord out of this, we're going to lower the 3rd a half step. So there's our basis for how we're doing this. I only know chords on the top half of the neck. Is it just that the lower part of the neck is a lower octave, or are they the same notes? This is most likely a beginner question. That's okay. Yeah, the notes start repeating themselves at the 12th fret. So if you understand what the notes are here, then knowing what the notes are here, it's going to be the same thing. That's really a cool thing about it. The key is being able to know this octave so that you can repeat whatever you're doing up here. Although it feels and looks a lot different because the frets are so much shorter, the scale is just completely different. But what we're doing here is going to help you understand the forms and the notes all the way up the neck for sure. All right. So let's take this form. We have major, root, 5th, root, 3rd, and we have minor, root, 5th, root, minor, 3rd. Let's figure out where we can modify this shape to conveniently place a 7th. Root, 3rd, root, 5th, root. We have 2 roots there. We don't need 2 roots. So we could take this second root and move it down a half step for our 7. So we have this. There's our, what we call a major 7 chord. Now how do we make this a minor 7 chord? Well, we have to do two things. We have to take our 7 and lower it another half step, so another fret, and we have to lower our third a half step, as we already determined before. So we would have this shape. So we have our major 7 form, and we have our minor 7 form. Now all that's left to do is harmonize the major scale with this form. So we're going to do it linearly again. We're going to walk up the neck using this A form. Let's do that with just major and minor first, and then we'll add the 7th. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. Now we have root, root flat 5, root minor third, in that shape. So we had our major, and we're lowering the 3rd and the 5th a half step. And then back to major. If we take our major and minor and create major 7 and minor 7 out of them, we can harmonize in the same way. Again, sticking to only major scale notes. That's what's determining our harmony. That one wouldn't be this, because this note is an F sharp. We have to make it an F. So this ends up being a dominant 7 sound. And then here we have our root. We're going to drop that to a 7, and we have this neat chord. Or this, probably better played. And then back to our major 7. So by coming up with these different harmony parts, or by coming up with these different chords, we're actually able to start hearing the harmony parts in ways that make more sense. Any other questions? Please let me know if you have questions. I'm going to do that again, since I only did it once. Harmonize a couple times up and down the neck for you using this. And this serves as two things. You get to see what's happening linearly using the A shape, but you also get to hear what the harmony's like. And just hearing it and internalizing it is a huge, huge help. It's awfully high. Oops. I don't know that we play it. We play it without the bar. Again. Add that top note. don't want that high note there. Did I do something different on the 5th degree? Yes, I did. I covered that. Let's look at that again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be a major 5. But when we have a major 5, if we extend that harmony into the 7th, 1, 3, 5, 7, let's look at it linearly again. 1, 3, 5. Would it be here? Or here? No, because that is an F sharp, and that doesn't exist in the key of C. So once we understand this in the key of C, we must, when we're harmonizing the major scale, we must stick to only notes in the major scale. That's the key. So with the 5th degree, it includes an F. So what that means is that our harmony, 1, 2, 3, we have a major 7 chord over the 4 and the 1. We have a dominant 7 over the 5. Minor 7, diminished 7, regular. Oops. Can I name the chords as I play them up and down the neck? Yes, I can. Here we go. This is for Anna. We have C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, or just G7, A minor 7. Oops. Then we have B diminished 7, C major 7. Once more. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G major 7, G dominant 7, sorry. Notice that didn't sound right. A minor 7, B diminished 7, and C major 7. Did you do something different with the 6th and 7th degrees? Kind of tough. Okay. So no, well the 6th is just this. Same thing that we've been doing on the 2, for example. Right? Same form. Same basic. Whether it's the 7th. On the 7th degree, we are doing this. 2nd, 14. So we have these two and these two. Easier to see maybe down here. 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 And here. So if we play that, and then go to our, we have that sound. Easier for sure to see it there. Does that make more sense? Does that help you see it by playing it down there? Let's choose a different basic chord form and harmonize it the same way. Let's take the E, the basic E form. So we have E, and we have E minor. Just these two, E minor, major. So if we bar that, if we make that into a closed chord, we'll do that. We're gonna stick to C, and we'll start over. Once we start getting too high, we'll drop down the octave. So there's C. Drop this chord note, and we have a C minor. How would we then take this and put a seventh in there? Well, let's analyze the same way we did before. We've got 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. Those are our intervals. So if we want to put a seventh in here, we can drop this duplicate root. And it would look like this. In this case, it's frets 8, 10, then 9, 9, 8, 8. Creates a differently phrased, differently sounding major seventh chord than that one. And we can work up the neck and harmonize with major, minor, or diminished sevens in this same way, with this same form. We can do this with all of our basic chords. Isn't that really neat? We'll do it in a second. Let me know if you have any more questions. Let's harmonize using the E form. Here's our seventh. Oh, we need to come up with our minor seven. Here's our minor version. 1, 5, 1, minor third, 5, 1. We can take this duplicate root and drop it. So we have major 7 and minor 7. Here we go. We'll drop down. Dominant for the G, so that would be 1, 5, flat 7, major third. So there's our minor 7, here's our dominant 7. So we went from here, oops, to here. Playing the whole chord, minor 7. Then we've got our B, flat 5, flat 7, flat third. And we want to not play those top notes in this particular form. Unless we want to add our pinky down here. Oops. Like that. We're going to stick with those 4. And then back to here. Again, all the way through the progression. So what we've done so far is use full versions of chords that we're used to, but that's not really practical for a lot of playing. Number one, my hand hurts quite a bit because I'm trying to play these full chords, and we're cycling through massive amounts of chords all back to back, and almost all of them are bar chords. So especially if you're trying this on an acoustic guitar, you are likely in the same or similar boat that I'm in right now, and that is experiencing finger pain. So what we need to do is we need to come up with ways. First of all, we can probably be done playing the scale as a whole and start thinking more in progressions or mini progressions, which we'd call cadences, going from another chord back to the one chord. Typically is how a cadence works. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to choose different chords. Let's say we're going to go from the 5 to the 1 in the key of C, or we're going to go from the 4 to the 1, or maybe we'll go from the 5 to the 6, or we'll go from the 3 to the 1. We're going to experiment doing that, and using our ears, we're just going to come up with the chord positions. We're not going to look at a book. We're going to come up with ways that make sense from a playing perspective, from a fingering perspective, and that make sense harmonically, the way we can connect these chords. So let's start with something simple. Let's start with a 5 to 1. Now we don't, typically you'd think about going 5 to 1. Oh, okay, well let's go, if we're in C, we'll go G to C. Well, that's in the same position. That's great. That's a nice, or we might do this. Okay, well, G to C. Well, those are the same form, right? And we might be tempted to do that when we're working with creating different chord forms and shapes, because it's easy to be lazy and just, oh, okay, well, we know dominant. But if we determine that this position is our 1, and we want to play a G7 chord in this same area, all we have to do is figure out where those notes are. So let's do that. We've got that position at our beck and call. So we know our major 7. Now, we know that G is the 5th of C, right? So now we need to build a major chord. We'll start with a major triad off of this note. Well, we know that a major triad, and we know that a triad built off of the 5th degree is major, and we know that this is a major triad, so we can build 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And then we just need a 7. So we know G, B, D. If we stack a third on top of 7 in the key of C, it's an F. It's where we get our dominant. So we have this opportunity, which isn't a terribly easy chord to play, but at least we came about it honestly and we figured it out. So if we have this, if we want to go from 5 to 1 in this position, we've got sounds okay. Is there a better way we could do it? Here's our triad again. Where's our 7 on this string? Ah. So maybe we could do something like this. And then we could put another root. There's a G. So we could have something like this. There's our G dominant 7 in that position. So if we want to move from the 5 to the 1, there's really not much for us to do. We've connected those chords and we've created a really cool sounding cadence. Without a capo, without chord charts, we've figured out, we've come by honestly. let's figure out where else we could go from 5 to 1 in the key of C. Well, we started with the A position here, and then we went to the E earlier. Let's see if we can do that here. Here's our 1. Here's our major 7, but that's a bear of a chord. What if we just did this? Just those 4 notes, lost the bar. Here's our 5th. Well, we could do that, but those are so disconnected. Or we could use this, build a triad. That's going to be kind of hard. Same thing we did before, right? We can move our 5th to our 7, and then we can add another root. And then we can go back to our 1. Again, so connected. This happens to be a C7 form, right? And you're going to start seeing patterns repeat themselves all over the place. Really neat sounding. How are we doing? Are we tracking and understanding the concept that we're going for here? We're creating movement, but as little movement as possible. And we're going from one chord, well, in this case, the 5 chord to the 1 chord. And we're choosing different areas, different basic chord shapes to work with. We're choosing different areas of the neck to get us there. We're making sure that we're not relying on only one shape, but that we're relying on one area of the neck to help us connect the chords. And this will lead later in the session, later in the course, will lead into intentionally working with voice leading. I'm going to pause here. Let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll work with another cadence. We're going to go from 5 to 6. So we're going to resolve to the 6th chord, which would be like a minor cadence. All right, well, if you think of any questions, let me know. Here we go for 5 to 6. Let's choose this form, 1 3 5, which is part of this chord, but we're going to just play the top part. There's our 1 and our 5. So here's our 5, and here's our 6. So if we're doing this, but we could also play, here's our 1, we could also play our 5 right here. Which would be closer in some ways. So let's work with this. Let's work with this here. Here is a major chord. This would be our 5 in the key of C. And then this would be our minor chord. It'd be the 6 in the key of C. So we want to 7thify these. We have 1, 5, 1, 3. So we can take our duplicate 1 and bring that down. We know that 5 is dominant. Is there a way to memorize the intervals, or is this it? This really is the best way. Utilizing your ear and modifying chords you already know and calling out the intervals. This is the best way to do it. It's a great ear training exercise. I always recommend too, when you're learning your intervals, so that you can hear them more instantly, is associate them with songs that you know. You know, Here Comes the Bride. It's a fourth. Somewhere, oh, that's a somewhere is an octave. Somewhere, oh, that's a major 7. So if you can get those sorts of things in your ears, getting it in your ears is what drives this, absolutely. So we've got 1, 5, dominant 7, 3, and then we're going to go to 6. Where's our 3? Right there. So we need to lower to half step. So we've got this, and then we modify our fingering, and then we could go back to our 1, or we could do something like this. 1, it's just a straight 1, or we could do a major 7 there. Stick with our 7th harmony. Sorry. And then we have our 6. So here's our 7. 1. To our dominant. Back to our 1. So, taking common chord forms, breaking them down, acknowledging the harmony, and going right to the fretboard to figure out these different forms, and then connecting using cadences. There's a lot more of this stuff to come as we get into different chords, different types of extensions, different types of chords, and work with going from different chords built off of different scale degrees to create these cadences. We're going to continue with this cadence idea, these traveling from one chord to another chord, the 5 chord to the 1, the 5 to the 6, 3 to 1, 6 to 1, 4 to 1, all of these sorts of things. And we're going to continue with adding extensions, adding modifications, suspensions to different chords in the weeks to come. Are there any more questions? That's the content for today. Be sure to check out the guided practice. Be sure to download the supplemental content where I have basic forms in Guitar Pro that you can use as starting points as well. Well, guys, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week for week 3, Chords and Cadences.